Hi, my name is Rebecca Killen, and today I will be speaking about Sweetness and Power by Sidney W. Mintz. Many of you may have grandparents that talked about back in World War II when they had to ration sugar. I know my grandmother did all the time. And there were actually people before that that had never had sugar before or even just didn't know what it was. Most of Europe produced their own food, and if they needed food, they get it from the next town over or within the border of Europe. So when they started to import stuff in, a lot of people weren't happy with it and were very opposed because they didn't understand it. So when cane sugar or sucrose came over, they thought it was versatile, protein substance, or just some random thing that somebody just made up. Sugar was first acknowledged in England in the 12th century, and it was so expensive that only the rich could afford it. So nobody in the working or poorer class knew exactly what it was. They gave it 5 different functions. It was medicine, a spice, decorative material, sweetener, and preservative. Sugar as a sweetener was probably the most popular. It started becoming a sweetener for 3 exotic drinks that were imported: tea, coffee, and chocolate. And tea being one of the biggest drinks, non-alcoholic, in the United Kingdom still to this day. The 3 drinks are very harshly bitter. In their original cultures, they were not sweetened at all. In China, they didn't put sugar in the tea. Coffee in North America and Middle East had nothing in it. It was just straight. And then chocolate was commonly used for adding flavor or in sauces. There are nations that put mustard in their coffee. The Eastern nations put in cloves and cinnamon, but never milk and syrup. Only Europe, the Western Indian lands, and America did it. These 3 beverages were only drunk by the wealthy, but by the time it got down to the working class, it was warm and already pre-sweetened. Sugar then lost some of its special meaning because it was no longer in the beholding of the rich. Everybody could have it. But then they later learned that making sugar available in larger quantities would be very profitable and patriotic. And then in the late 13th century, from Sicily, molasses came over. And molasses was different than regular cane sugar because it was a mixture of brown sugar and a bunch of other ones together. And then in the 18th century, they started producing, shipping, refining, and taxing the sugar, and it was more effective for power because they got all the money. Sugar also made chocolate more expensive than coffee because it added a richer flavor to it. And it gained the popularity with the rich because chocolate is just chocolate. The popularity of tea also led to higher taxes in the smuggling of tea into England because people didn't want to pay the higher taxes. And even though sugar wasn't considered a medicine or a spice or a plaything to power anymore, it was still very powerful in all different types of food. Sugar has both negative and positive effects for the working middle class. One being that it was giving extra calories that the working class was lacking because of their poor diet. But it was also cutting back on meal times and preparing times because it was a preservative. So the family that might have not prepared together anymore because they only need one person to do it. And it cut out some nutrients that was in the food because the sugar would cancel it out. And some people mark history of sugar as an accidental event, but it's not accidental. It opened up many doors for importing goods as well as discovering different types of food from different cultures. And it revealed 2 things in the United Kingdom. It marked the population of sweetening tea from 1750 onward, and the second being opening mass consumption from 850 onward. Thank you.